Upon Life is Strange being released again, I decided to have another go, to play it again, to play all the games, but this time I decided it's time to actually try something new, which is a chronological order. Remastered games were widely discussed here and there. Some people disliked them, some people found them unnecessary, some people thought that they shouldn't have been released at the time, that they should have given it a bit more time, polished them sort of, because as far as I know, there were plenty of bugs, especially in Life is Strange game, which was remastered by Deck 9. Deck 9 created Before the Storm, so it was easier for them to sit down and polish it up because they created the game, it was their baby, so it was easier for them to remaster it. They had more issues with Life is Strange, so it seems, with the original game. Again, some people claim that maybe it's because they haven't actually created that game, they maybe gave it a bit less attention, or it was both. So it was more difficult for them to remaster a game that they have not created, and maybe they just have not cared as much about this particular title and cared more about the one that they created. But I think out of respect for Dontnod, I think Deck 9 gave it a lot of love anyway, especially after the patches were released. Now I'm saying that because I myself played it after all the patches were released. I haven't played it straight away because I heard about all the bugs and all the issues, so I figured it's actually better if I wait. I did wait, and when I played it, it turned out that there were barely any bugs. I did encounter some bugs that sort of made it more difficult to play. For example, characters' teeth bothered me. They were really bright and really visual, like vampires' teeth in a way. That's something that was sort of bothering me. Some scenes were lacking certain nuances from the first game because sometimes they changed the characters' expressions, and that sort of changed the whole context for someone who is very much familiar with the games, for someone who is very much familiar with the characters' expressions and all the details and nuances of the scenes and moments in between Max and Chloe especially. But putting that aside, I didn't want to discuss that on my channel because I wanted for it to be a unique experience, one that's my own. I didn't want to record remastered games. I did play Farewell on my channel, but then I wanted to make it my own. And so I have played Farewell, then I have played Before the Storm, and then I have played Life is Strange, all in chronological order. Let me tell you this, it was a superior experience to the one that I previously had with the games. As you will know, I know Life is Strange games very well. I have played them a lot of times, and I have made several videos on Life is Strange titles. So I didn't really expect anything new out of this. I wanted to try it out, and I wanted to give it a lot of attention, because sometimes when you record certain games, like for example Before the Storm, I played it while recording, you miss certain details because you're also focused on the technical side, you're also focused on the viewers. That's why I figured it's time to give Life is Strange, all the titles, the love it deserves and the attention that it deserves. I don't want to make this into videos, I wanted to make this my own, and I surely did. Life is Strange played chronologically, starting from Farewell and ending with Life is Strange, turned out to be a far superior experience. That's something I didn't really expect. That's something that surprised me. I think that's the only appropriate order. Right now, I would never play it any other way. Of course, there's no need to discuss why it's also great in the original order. We have all played these games in original order of release. So we have played Life is Strange, then we have played Before the Storm, then we played Farewell, then we played Life is Strange 2, but it wasn't as connected story-wise to the first games. Then there was also True Colors, which does connect to the first games. I haven't replayed it yet, I played it on my channel. It's been great. Shout out to all the duckers out there. I think even though it is connected, it's still not as connected as Before the Storm and Life is Strange are, so that's why I haven't really played True Colors yet. Again, even though I intend to, maybe even I will play Wastelands and then True Colors to actually make it even more chronological. And Wastelands does connect to Before the Storm, especially because Steph is there. Wastelands does connect to the original game because of the tornado topic and the aftermath of it, so it makes sense to play it that way. I also want to point point out that after finishing Life is Strange, the original game, after playing it all chronologically, I started rereading the comic books. Because as you know, there's a Life is Strange comic book series. It's quite official. I don't know if you can treat it as canon or not. Probably not as much, but you can treat it as your own canon. The comic books start exactly after the Saving Chloe ending. So that from that moment on, they sort of continue the story. In the comic books, you can see Max and Chloe, you can see the aftermath of the game's events, and yeah, it's a whole other topic, separate one. I will still make a video about the comic books, but not just yet. I wanted to make this one first. There's so many positive aspects when it comes to the chronological order. Like I mentioned before, there's nothing wrong with playing the games in the original order, the release order, so Life is Strange, then Before the Storm, then Farewell. But I think it adds so much to the experience if you play it chronologically and makes it a superior experience, in my opinion. First of all, you get to know the characters that you only meet in Life is Strange. If you play it chronologically, you get to know them before. You get to know David, you get to know Victoria, Nathan. You can notice how much they have changed between Before the Storm and Life is Strange. So then when you are deciding if you actually want to sacrifice Arcadia Bay, you have been with these characters for a longer period. You have known them, you know how they changed, you know where they're coming from. That's why it might make it more difficult to actually sacrifice them. Another obvious aspect of playing it chronologically is actually the aspect of grief. You can see how much Chloe has changed. You can see how much she has grieved after losing William and after Max leaving. You can see what it does to a person, and you can understand Chloe much more. I think Life is Strange, played that way, played chronologically, becomes a story of Chloe. It's no longer a story of Max. If you're playing Life is Strange first, the original game, then obviously Max is your protagonist. You're playing as Max, and that's the way you see the story events. You think that this is Max's experience. When you play it chronologically, it does become a major Chloe experience, a major tribute to Chloe, because you can meet her in Farewell, you can see how mature she already was, you can see how connected to Max she was, hence you know how much it affects her when Max actually leaves. Then you can see that in Before the Storm, how much it truly affected her, how much the fact that William died and Chloe left within days affected her, how much she changed, how much her behavior changed. You understand why she is that way. You understand why she is acting out on David and on Joyce. You see that and you know why. It makes perfect sense to play it that way. If you start with Farewell, of course you'll be lacking some sort of an emotional impact of the Farewell's ending. It's a bit different if you have played Life is Strange, Before the Storm, and then you play Farewell, then it hits even more when William dies. However, I think that Farewell is such a brilliant episode, it can carry its own weight. So I think it can defend itself even without having played the other games first. So that's just a minor minus, but it doesn't really affect my decision when it comes to, well, thinking that the chronological order is the best one there is. Plus, when you start the experience with Farewell, you get the gist, the essence of how genius that game is, because Life is Strange Farewell is one of the best episodes Life is Strange ever released. You instantly get hit with these feelings, with nostalgia, with the sentiment of it. Even if you don't really know them as much, it does hit you, because we all had, or at least most of us had, a close childhood friend, someone you were playing around with, and you can sort of relate to that. That's why it's great to start with Farewell. It's great to see that Max and Chloe were as close. It's great to see that Chloe had some feelings when it comes to Max. That's something else, something different. Then when William dies, you can see how much it hit Chloe. When Max leaves, you're wondering, what happens? Will they ever meet again? Will they actually ride? Then Before the Storm starts, and you can see that that's a major tribute to Chloe's grief, not only after losing William but also after losing Max. You can see what Chloe is saying about the fact that Max never really rode, just started sort of ignoring her, and you can see how it affects her. Then you meet Rachel. So Rachel from Before the Storm, she stops being just a picture in Life is Strange. In Life is Strange, Rachel was a person existing on paper. You could see the ads, you could see the photos, you can hear Chloe's stories, and of course it was a lot because it was presented really well. You could tell that even when Rachel was not really around, you could sense how important she was to Chloe, but it's still very different to actually meet her. Most of us liked Rachel in Before the Storm. She was a great character, the way she was created. So if you play Before the Storm and then you play Life is Strange, it hits much more when you actually find Rachel on that junkyard. It hits differently. It's much more tragic, and when I was playing it personally, it hit me hard. I was even afraid of going to that junkyard. It was really sad because I just have played Before the Storm. I just have met Rachel and found out she was actually a very cool person. It almost feels like you lost Rachel as well. Not just Chloe, but you personally have lost Rachel, a character that you spent 3 nice episodes with when it comes to Before the Storm. There's plenty of references. For example, in Before the Storm, you start repairing the car, and then in Life is Strange, the car is still there. There's the pirates map, entire Chloe's house. It's just familiar because when you're playing Life is Strange, it's not a brand new environment. You have already been there. You have spent a lot of time in Chloe's house previously, so it feels familiar and it feels safe. When Life is Strange starts, you're also more of a Max. You know so much more about her. You know about her background with Chloe. Chloe is not just a person that we meet on that parking lot, that we see in that bathroom. It's someone that we actually know. It's someone that we have actually spent time with. So you know who she is. You know who that person is. You know that she's close to you, and saving her over and over again in Life is Strange makes much more sense. You have created an actual emotional bond towards Chloe instead of being told by the game that there is one existing between the two of you. You have that whole history with her. You know how you left her, and you know that now that you came back, you almost have a moral duty to help her, to make up for everything that you have previously done. So leaving, not really being in touch, not being there for her when she lost both you and William. If you're playing that way, it also becomes like a love letter to Max and Chloe, to their bond, to the love that's between them, to the feeling that's between them, a romantic one. Starting from Farewell, you can see that Chloe already had some feelings towards Max. It is there, you can feel it. She's much more mature than Max, it feels like it. She knows that Max is leaving, yet she's not letting her know that she knows. She's sort of letting Max work it out on her own, figure it out on her own, which is something an adult person would do. That's why it hits even more, because when Max leaves, you don't only lose a friend, you lose a person that was a bit more important to you. Perhaps at that time you didn't quite understand what that feeling was, but you knew that it was there, and you didn't really get a chance to properly develop it. You didn't get a chance to explore it because Max left. That's why I think when Rachel shows up in Chloe's life, it is also a very important step between Farewell and Life is Strange. If you play that way, Rachel becomes a romantic interest, and you can sort of explore that part of you. You can find out more about your sexual orientation, and you can figure it out. When you start Life is Strange and you still feel that there's something going on between you and Max, you're more aware of who you are. You're more aware of what's your sexual orientation. That's why it makes sense that there was an extra step in between something that was born in Farewell and something that was fully explored in Life is Strange. But most of all, I think that Life is Strange played chronologically becomes a story of redemption. Max's story of redemption. You leave Chloe. One can dispute she didn't really influence her parents' decision. It wasn't her choice to leave. Yet she did leave, she had to leave, and she had to leave on the day of the funeral for whatever reason. Max had a chance to write, but she didn't. Again, one can dispute that. One can say that she wasn't ready, that it was easier for her, that maybe she felt like it would be easier to Chloe not to really reach out as much. That's a whole other topic. The essence is she didn't really reach out. She wasn't there for her when Chloe was grieving the loss of William, the loss of her childhood, in fact, the loss of her best friend, the loss of a potential romantic feeling. When you come back, you get a chance to save Chloe. You get a chance to make up for leaving her before. That's why I think it becomes a story of redemption. You actually get a chance to fix that. I think Life is Strange played chronologically validates saving Chloe ending. It only makes sense that you would save her after everything that's happened between the two of you. You get a chance to meet Chloe and Max when they're just kids, explore their bond. You get a chance to see how Chloe grieved, how it horribly affected her. And then when you reunite, you get a chance to be there for her, actually be there for her, and make sure that she knows she's the most important person in your life, and make sure that she knows that right now you are not letting go, that you are not going to let her die. For all these reasons, I think Life is Strange played chronologically creates a far more superior experience. Personally, I enjoyed it so much more, and I recommend that order to anyone. Thanks so much for watching. Stay safe, guys. This was Ola from Stop Me O channel. Bye.